Have you ever wondered how some software just works? How it gets built so fast and, reliably? Well, it's definitely not magic. It all comes down to having the right set of tools. And today, we're going to crack open one of the biggest toolkits out there, Azure DevOps. We're going to see how all its different parts fit together to take an idea from a thought bubble all the way to a finished product, hopefully with a lot fewer headaches along the way.
All right, so here's the plan. First, we'll talk about what this whole toolkit thing is. Then we'll jump into planning and tracking, coding and collaborating, building and automating, testing and sharing, and finally, how you can see everything that's going on.
Okay, let's get right into it. First things first, what is Azure DevOps, really? What's this toolkit all about? So, here's the official definition, but let's break that down. Imagine you're building a house. You're not just going to show up with a hammer, right? No way. You need blueprints, saws, drills, the whole shebang. Plus, you need a way to check your work. Well, that's exactly what Azure DevOps is for software. It's not just one thing. It's a whole collection of tools that are built to work together seamlessly, covering you from that first light bulb moment all the way to launch day. And here they are, the big five. This is like the blueprint for the toolkit itself. You've got Azure Boards for all your planning. Azure Repos is where the code lives. Azure Pipelines, that's your build and deliver machine. Then you have test plans to make sure everything works. And Azure Artifacts for sharing bits of code. Every single one of these plays a super important role, so let's dig into each one. All right, first tool out of the box. You know what they say. Every great project has to start with a great plan. And inside Azure DevOps, that plan lives in Azure Boards. So picture this, a big project, tons of people, and nobody has a clue who's doing what. It's just total chaos, right? Well, that's the problem Azure Boards is designed to solve. Think of it as the mission control for your project. This is where you take those huge ideas, what we call epics, and you slice them up into smaller, doable tasks. And with things like Kanban boards, the whole team gets a visual, real-time look at what's going on. It totally gets rid of the guesswork. It's all about clarity. Okay, so we've got our plan locked down. Now it's time for the fun part, writing the code. And for that, we turn to our next tool, Azure Repos.
You know that feeling in a group project when everyone's trying to edit the same online doc at once and you're terrified you're going to delete someone's work? Yeah, Azure Repos is basically the solution to that, but for code. It's a super smart system that lets a whole team of developers work on the same project at the same time without causing a total disaster. And it's got these things called pull requests, which are kind of like having a peer review process built right in. It's a fantastic way to make sure only the best code gets approved.
So we've got a plan, and now we've got a bunch of code. Great, but now what? How do we take all that raw code and turn it into an actual app that people can use? And how do we do it over and over without a ton of manual work? Well, that, my friends, is the job of Azure Pipelines. This thing is the absolute engine of the whole DevOps process. It's what powers what we call CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery. So what does that mean? It means Pipelines automatically grabs the latest code from repos, it builds it, it runs a whole battery of tests to hunt for bugs, and then it pushes it out for people to use. It's an incredible time saver and a lifesaver for catching problems before they get to users. Okay, we're getting close to the finish line. Let's talk about two really important final steps, making sure the app is rock solid and sharing our work efficiently. These next two pieces, test plans and artifacts, are absolutely key, especially when your projects start getting bigger. First up, Azure Test Plans. This is your one-stop shop for quality control. It handles everything from your formal, planned-out tests to more free-form exploratory testing. It's all about making sure the final product is as bug-free as possible. And then you've got Azure Artifacts. Think of this as your team's private library of code. It lets you package up useful bits of code and share them across different projects. So instead of reinventing the wheel every time, you can just grab a component you've already built. Super efficient and super secure. Okay, so we've got all these different parts moving. Planning, coding, building, testing. It's a lot to keep track of. So the big question is, how do you see the whole picture? How do you know if you're actually making progress? And that's where the dashboards and analytics come in. You know the old saying, you can't improve what you don't measure? And that's so true here. This is the glue that holds everything together. It pulls data from all the other tools and gives you that 30,000-foot view of your entire project. You can see real-time info on, well, everything. Project health, team velocity, bug counts, all of it. This means you can stop guessing and start making smart decisions based on actual data. So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's that word integrated.
Because all these tools are part of one platform, they talk to each other. And that gives your team this incredibly clear end-to-end view of everything that's happening. It lets you work together better, automate all the boring stuff, and in the end, ship better software faster. And that really leads to the final question, one for you to think about. How could having a single, powerful toolkit like this completely change the way you build things?